Hi, I'm Liz Larson with Transform One Idea, where we're exploring the idea that the tiniest shift in thinking can create the largest changes in our lives. And I'm here today with my guest, Nikki Rausch of the Sales Maven. Is it the Sales Maven or just Sales Maven?
Just Sales Maven.
Sales Maven. So Nikki is a coach, sales coach. She is a speaker and an author of 2 books, The Buying Signals, or Buying Signals. I want to add a "the" to everything today, and 6-word lessons on influencing with grace, right?
That's right.
It's a great title. So for everybody out there, Nikki and I met because Nikki was actually the assistant in a training I was taking, and you were in my practitioner's training, right, Nikki?
Your practitioners, yes.
Yeah, she was like this amazing support in this training. And so I was amazed when I found out what Nikki actually did for her business, which is sales. Because Nikki has this calm, supportive presence. You wouldn't guess, hey, Nikki's a saleswoman. But that, in fact, is what she does. She trains people on sales. And I think what was amazing to me, and this is, just my perspective, is that you don't expect that. You don't expect this calm, kind, gentle presence to be equated with sales. And so that's what our topic is about for today. And my big question for Sales Guru Nikki is, can sales be spiritual? I work with a lot of people who have what we call heart-centered businesses. So healers, some life coaches, even a medium or 2. And they consider their profession heart-centered. And they all struggle so much with sales. And that the idea of selling can't be heart-centered or spiritual. So what do you have to say about that?
My belief is sales is heart-centered. It's about the area of sales that I focus on is the relationship side of selling. So in the selling process, it isn't about me. It's about being of service to my prospective client, to my existing clients. And it's about helping them meet a need or solve a problem, something that is going to improve their life in some way. So I believe it is 100% heart-centered. And when you're caught up in this idea of selling is icky and it feels bad, it's because you think that it's about you. And then it feels selfish and it feels manipulative. And that isn't really what sales is about. At least that's my belief. It really is about putting the other person at ease, making it easy for them to move to whatever the next step is in the process to get what it is that they're telling you they want or need. So it's about the other person.
So let me ask you, you've heard this objection before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the concerns that people come up with? I mean, what do they say about why maybe they can't sell or why they don't feel good about sales? I've heard people say it's painful. I mean, just to put that out there.
Yeah. And I think, one of the reasons I think it's painful for people is because nobody has ever told them that you can be your authentic self and be effective in selling. And as a matter of fact, this is why so many people who have ever experienced any kind of a sales program before have struggled with it, because a lot of people out there that are teaching sales are like, you have to talk like me, you have to be like me, this is the script you have to follow. Well, that doesn't work, especially for heart-centered businesses, because it's all about being authentic. And so one of the ways that I work with clients and believe wholeheartedly about sales is you should show up and be your authentic self. And what I teach are just really simple, tiny adjustments to what you're doing so that you're more effective. And some of it is just learning how to understand the selling process. Like, this happened, so what do I do next? because most people don't understand that there really is a structure and a format to the selling process. And so once you understand the structure and the format, then you can add your personality to it. Then you can be authentic. Then you can be yourself and be more effective. So that's one kind of area, which is a fear, is people are like, I don't even know what to say, right? So I teach a lot around language, but it isn't about what can come out of my mouth. It's, here's some language. Can you get this out of your mouth? And if not, we need to tweak it. We need to adjust it so that it feels authentically you when you say it. So that's what I would address about the pain.
So something I know about what you teach, because we're both NLP practitioners, and for those of you who don't know what NLP is, would you explain that quickly, Nikki?
So it stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and the way I describe it is it's the study of communication. So neuro, the way we're processing information in our brains. Linguistics is the language piece, and it's not just how you speak to others, but it's also that internal dialogue that you've got going on. So understanding that about yourself. And then the programming piece is habits and patterns. So when you start to understand the way you process information, the way that you speak, your habits and your patterns, you also can start to learn how to pick up other people's habits, patterns, processing, language. And then you can add flexibility to your behavior, still being your authentic self, because we like people who are like us. We think people who are like us are smart. Like, let's be honest, that's true. When you meet somebody who's like you, you're like, that person is smart. So when you can add some flexibility to your behavior to put the other person at ease, the selling process actually gets much more simpler, because now you're having a real conversation. You're making it easy for the person to be in conversation with you. You're also making it easy for them to share about their particular problem, their particular need, what it is that they want to be different in their life. And then they're more open to hearing your suggestion or your response because they feel comfortable with you. So that's how I describe NLP.
I love that you finished with that piece of it, because what I know about what you teach is this is a big piece of how you frame sales. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So I know in talking to you recently, just in a private chat, we were talking about this piece of active listening. That's a big part of what you teach.
Mm-hmm.
Matching and mirroring is a big part. I mean, those might sound like funny words to people out there. I'm going to ask you in a second what they mean, but and rapport. Rapport encompasses a lot of these things. In your opinion, is that what really makes the way you teach sales a heart-centered approach?
I think so. I mean, I feel like maybe that's a better question to ask some of my clients.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're going to be able to share with you more and maybe a more realistic answer. So the foundation behind everything that I teach, it's all built on rapport. If you don't have rapport with somebody, if you don't understand how to build rapport with somebody, and specifically people who have a little bit of a different style than you, and sometimes a dramatically different style than you, because we can sometimes just dismiss people like, oh, their style is not like mine, I don't want them as a client. And yet, when you build rapport with that person, sometimes what happens is those become your most cherished clients, because they get the most impact from the work that you do, and they appreciate that you were willing to be so flexible with them. So yes, everything is built on rapport. And then I do bring a tremendous amount of NLP into my work. And I also have an extensive background in sales with a lot of success. So it's really a combination of, I have kind of cherry picked what I have been able to use and implement in my 24 years of sales, the things that I've learned over the years in NLP that have really impacted the relationship side of selling. And then now I'm able to teach those with that sales approach to it. So yes, is the shortest
answer. Well, So I think that's the thing with sales. And I think it's why it brings up so much fear in so many of us, and especially those of us who believe we're offering something that's supposed to be heart-centered, energy-based, or spiritual. There are these sets of skills. So it sounds like you're talking about at least two sets of skills. One, sales language, knowing the process of the sale, knowing how to help someone get to the place where they fully understand what you're offering, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And how to buy it from you. Yeah.
Well, and there's one more piece that I would put in front of those two that you just said is I really do focus a lot with clients on how to even open the door to even discuss what you do and who you are. There's a big piece around learning how to create curiosity, because when you create curiosity, you're drawing people to you. They've got follow-up questions. They want to know more. And then it becomes a real conversation. It's not like you're going out just trying to, blast out into the universe, like, who wants to buy from me? Because that feels, frankly, gross and yucky. And none of us want to do that. So we have to learn how to attract people. So curiosity and attracting your clients, your ideal clients to you, and then understanding the relationship piece, and then also understanding the closing piece. Like that's kind of if you broke sales down into 3 categories, those are the categories.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. Hallelujah for saying that. It's the biggest area where I have found fear with people that I'm working with are these people who are doing multi-level marketing, MLMs, and they're taught that sales process of blasting people. So I love that you're saying, instead of this forward movement, it's an invitation. I know you use that word a lot, but it's you're attracting people to you. And there's a way to do that. Are you saying that sets people up in a way to want to buy more from you, that attracting them rather than that sales blasting them?
Yes. Actually, I just wrote an article about this last week, and it was this idea of, are you attracting people or are you capturing people? And attracting clients allows for you to build loyalty. It allows for you to build real relationships and connections. Trying to just capture people, well, first of all, who wants to be captured? That feels weird and awkward and kind of yucky, frankly. Yeah. So this idea of, direct multi-level marketing is a great example. I actually have quite a few clients that work in multi-level marketing, and quite a few of my clients are uber successful in there. I have somebody I work with right now. She has 6,000 people on her team. She is committed to doing it in a much better, heart-centered way, because it isn't about going out and just trying to blast and capture people. It's about attracting the right people, the people who want and need what it is that you offer, and then building that customer loyalty. Because frankly, especially in multi-level marketing, there needs to be a repeat business process here for you to really be able to sustain that business. So you've got to build some loyalty, and you're going to build loyalty by the clients that you attract, not the clients that you try to force something down their throat.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate you that you're saying that so much. I mean, these can be wonderful businesses. I know that many multi-level marketing have allowed moms to stay home or, people to stay home and take care of other family members or run their business and have, the life of their dreams. So they're really valuable. But unfortunately, so many of the sales trainings that go along are this forceful way. And like you said, capturing. So let me see if I can recap just a little bit. You're saying that what you teach is being able to attract people to your business. And then once they're interested in you, you're teaching them how to have this rapport building piece. So would you explain just the tiniest bit rapport building? Because I think, that might be a word that people don't understand. We talked about it being active listening, matching and mirroring, but really what does that piece mean? So when the person's interested in your business now, you're building what with them?
So it's this idea of the know, like, and trust factor in business that's really important, because if people don't know you, if people don't like you, if people don't trust you, they're not going to give you their money. And it isn't just about money. They're just not going to give you their time. So it's really crucial that you're able to build rapport, and at the same time that you understand that sales is a process. So when a lot of people talk about sales like it's a sales funnel, and the framework that I teach is that it's actually, once you get to the level where you've attracted that client, it now becomes a staircase in the way that I teach it, because it's about moving people from step to step to step. And it isn't about forcing them. It's not about dragging them. It's about learning where you are in the process, what step you're in, and then issuing the invitation to the next step. And when you issue an invitation to somebody, it's a huge rapport builder. So there are ways to do it. Like you had mentioned, matching and mirroring is an NLP technique, and I teach a lot around matching and mirroring because it puts people at ease. I also teach a lot around the listening, because frankly, if you're speaking the whole time, or if you're not a good listener and you don't know how to actively listen, and actively listen isn't just picking up the words that are coming out of somebody's mouth, it's actually not only picking up the words, but paying attention to their body language and paying attention to some of the nonverbal cues that people give that indicate interest. And then you issue the invitation to the next step. And frankly, learning how to invite people to the next step with you is one of the best things that you can do for a heart-centered business, because people like to be invited. People like to be liked. People like to be included. And a lot of times people are afraid of inviting because they think it's selfish. They think it's scary and it's icky. And it's actually not. You and I were having this conversation earlier. It's like, if you send out an invitation to your summer barbecue, you're not offended if somebody says like, no, thank you, I'm not available, or barbecues are not my thing, or, I can't be out in the sun, or I've got other plans. Like, it's not a big deal about the people who don't come. It's more for the people who do come and you have a great time. So learning how to issue the invitation, even if you don't want to come to your friend's barbecue, it's still nice to be invited. So even if the person isn't ready for the next step with you, it's still somewhat flattering to be invited to the next step.
That is really true. And I just had 2 aha moments. I mean, unfortunately, that's the way my mind works. It's never just one. One is, it just dawned on me as you're talking about these steps, and as we said, attracting, inviting, rapport building, and then you talked about the stair steps of the way. But it just dawned on me that if you skip a step, maybe your client is lost in where you are in the process. So the steps are actually quite important, right?
Crucial.
Yeah.
If you're skipping steps, chances are you don't really understand what it is that the person needs or wants, or you're not uncovering any kind of objections along the way. You might go into, when you're skipping steps, you might actually be the person who is coming across pushy or aggressive, because the client doesn't understand why we're at this step. We missed all these other steps. Like, there was no building of rapport. There's no like, and trust. You're just asking me for my business. Like, how dare you, right? It's too aggressive. It's too pushy. So the steps are crucial. They are so crucial.
I just had this funny image in my mind of, do you remember Robin Williams in the one where he dressed up as a woman? What was that movie called?
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Do you remember about the drive-by fruiting? So I had this image of a drive-by fruiting, in the sales step process. It's like, here's what I have. Here, take it, catch, And if we're doing that, you can imagine the reaction of a drive-by fruiting. Somebody's, doing this, pulling away, instead of leaning in. And so I get the imagery when you're talking about attracting, inviting. Mm-hmm. I want to lean in. Yeah. I want to lean into you. If you're attracting me and you're inviting me, and then you're taking time to find out, do I need your product, or what aspect of your business do I need? I want to lean in to you.
Thank you. And that's it. You got it.
Well, and to me, to bring it around to our topic of, can it be spiritual? Can it be heart-centered? When you lean in, you're leading with your heart.
Yeah.
You're attracting with your heart. So I love that about what you're saying. The second thing that my brain came up with is, I think you're talking about fear of rejection when you're talking about, so if I throw at you what I'm offering and you don't catch, because maybe you don't know I'm throwing it, back to our steps, I feel rejected because you didn't catch. But that is on me for not saying, hey, go along, gonna throw, here it comes. And here's what I'm throwing. Am I throwing you a pineapple? Am I throwing you, something with spikes on it? Or am I throwing you a ball?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah. So fear of rejection is one of the biggest fears that most of my clients come to me with. They're like, I can't just do this selling thing, Nikki, because people are going to reject me. Now, I will share a story with you that years ago, a really good friend of mine had reached out, and she was being interviewed for a position that had a sales component. And she didn't have a lot of sales background, so she wanted to, pick my brain, ask the expert about sales language and the things that she should know in this interview. And at one point she said to me, Nikki, one of the things, I want to tell you one of the things that make you really good at sales. Now, I love a compliment, so I was totally leaning in. I was like, oh, I feel like I'm about to get a compliment here. So I'm like leaning in. I'm like, what do you think makes me good at sales? She's like, you're so good at rejection. And I was driving at the time. It stopped me in my tracks. Like I went to pull over to the side of the road. I was like, hold up, wait, what? You think people reject me? Like, who's rejecting me? Because I don't want to be rejected. That felt horrible. And she's like, so I had to ask some questions. I needed to uncover what was she talking about, this rejection? And she said, well, when people tell you no in the selling process, you're being rejected. And I was like, oh, okay. I understand why you think that, and that's not the case. So no is not rejection in the selling process. No, most of the time is not yet. If you followed the steps, if you're going through the steps with a potential client, when you get a no, it's usually a not yet, because there's some piece you've missed a step, or they're not quite ready yet, or there's some reason. So fear, it's not rejection. I always say, like, if you go out to eat and you have a really wonderful meal and the waiter comes by with the dessert menu and offers you dessert and you say, oh, no, thank you. I couldn't possibly, I'm full. The waiter doesn't go behind the counter and speak to his other, colleagues and say, like, can you believe those people? They totally rejected me. They didn't want dessert. Like, that's not what the selling process is. And so some of it is a mind shift of really understanding, why did people say no? And there are reasons. Is there something you could have done different? What do you do now? And then if it's just that it's not your ideal client, I'm a big believer in doing what's called clear the field. And I mean this in a heart-centered way, but clear people and issues out of the way so that you can go on and be your best self for your next ideal client. So people who are never going to buy from you anyway, learning how to get to the no quicker with those people is actually, it's good business. It's also good for them, and it's really good for your next potential client because you have more energy to show up with. You can be your best self with them.
I love this concept so much. In fact, a mutual friend of ours taught me this in a way that I will never forget. Cindy. Our friend Cindy has this huge multi-level marketing business. I mean, the woman is so successful. It's amazing. But what she taught me is this one piece. Not every client is for her.
No.
Not every prospective person. So in multi-level marketing, many times you have to build a team. And so, you're not only selling your product, but you're looking for team members to build your network. And she doesn't want every person. She knows that a very specific few people are going to really grow her business. And so she said this, let's say you sign up and you are all gung-ho, but then you don't follow the process that she lines out. She still loves you like you're her favorite person on the planet. She just doesn't talk business with you anymore. Huge. Zero rejection. Just like, okay, that's not quite for me, and I'm not quite for them, but I love them as a being. Totally heart-centered and totally a wicked smart business practice.
She is brilliant. I love her.
Obviously.
She's uber successful at what she does. And yes, this idea of it's totally okay, because when you put the relationship first, should the sale not follow, the relationship is still intact. There's still something there. You're still being a good person. You're still being a good potential friend or colleague or associate, or just even a reference for them in some way, a resource to them in some way. So I love that idea. That makes my heart happy to know, and to just be okay with not everybody really is a client. It's okay. And it still is your job to help determine that. And you do that through having some selling skills.
It's amazing, and when you see what she does and what you do, she's not out there hunting. What she's doing is observing and waiting for the right client. And the idea that the right clients build your business to a much higher scale than trying to chase around clients who really are not a fit. So this brings me to my favorite thing I've been waiting to ask you this.
Oh.
So you kind of touched on it already.
Okay.
How can a no turn into like an amazing experience for both people?
Okay. So a lot of times this has to do with the first no. If they're coming back and they're giving you buying signals, so you had mentioned earlier, I have a book about buying signals. So if that person says no, but then you get a new buying signal, that's usually an indicator that you haven't hit their convincer strategy yet. So a convincer strategy, I don't know if you remember this from NLP, but a convincer strategy is people have a certain number of times they'll say no before they say yes. And so it's not about, you're not like the little kid trying to get something in the grocery store from your mom going like, please buy from me, please, please get me this candy. It's not that. It's more of being present, keeping the relationship intact. And then when the new buying signal comes around, you issue the invitation. And then if it's a not yet, or if it's a no, that's okay. You keep the relationship intact. When you see them again or you interact with them again, you get a new buying signal, you issue another invitation. I've been in situations where I've had people tell me no so many times before they tell me yes that you probably wouldn't believe how many times I have invited them to do business with me, because you would think like I would have never asked after the third, fourth, fifth, sixth time. I ask every time I get a new buying signal because things change, right? Like there are times where you're going to meet somebody and they're not ready for what you do. Something hasn't shifted in their life in some way, or there's some part of them that needs to kind of clear something else out in order to be ready to work with you. It's that idea of, what's the quote, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yes, exactly.
You have to be the teacher and be ready when the student is ready. So that is why the relationship piece is so important. Because if you're a one and done, like somebody says no to me, I'm done with them, I'll never speak to them again, you're missing out on working with some of the best possible clients ever, because sometimes a no is just a not yet.
This leads me to another mind-blowing, brilliant thing that I shared with you. I actually was able to share with someone that I'm helping recently, is that if you don't continue to invite, what does the person think?
Well, most of us think the whole world revolves around us, which is why
Obviously.
in the selling process we get uncomfortable because we feel like, well, this is about me, this is rejection, or this is this, or this, all that crazy stuff. But your clients think the same thing. They think the world revolves around them too. And so when you don't invite people to do business with you, when you don't issue those invitations, you leave people feeling unsatisfied with their interaction with you. And I know this because people know what I teach, and I network a lot, and I have a lot of connections with people. And so people feel very comfortable to reach out. They send me emails, they, corner me at meetings and share with me about, I was, talking to somebody and I was interested in doing business with them and they never invited me. That person hates me. And I was like, I don't actually think they hate you. I think they just missed the opportunity to invite. Or sometimes people will say to me, like, that person doesn't think I can afford their service. And I promise you, that person isn't thinking about whether or not you can afford their service. They feel intimidated to ask you to do business with them because they're not sure yet how to do it. So when you don't invite people, you leave people feeling unsatisfied. And they may not even know it at a conscious level yet, why they feel unsatisfied with their interaction with you. They are less likely to come back to you when they are ready because they didn't feel like the interaction was that great to begin with.
Yeah, right, right. Amazing. So, it feels like to me that throughout everything you teach, to make every sales interaction, whether you have a heart-centered business or not, a heart-centered transaction, which I think is what we all want, right?
I hope so.
That you're inviting them by how you attract them. You're inviting them to even consider you as a business. You're inviting them by listening and paying close attention and hearing them and building that rapport all the way through what we call the traditional closing. Mm-hmm. Did I hear you say that's just an invitation, another invitation?
It is another invitation. Now, there is some process to closing, and it has to do with understanding, first and foremost, in the closing process, when you have worked through the steps and you've gotten to the step where you're now closing, you should actually be in the lead in the conversation. And I don't mean dominating the conversation. I mean understanding what's going on. And you have to step into this role of like, I'm the expert and I am going to show you how to get what it is that you tell me you want or you need. And that means that I have to take the lead in the selling process. I have to be really clear with my language to invite people to work with me. And then I have to be willing to wait for their response. Not brush them off, not tell them to call me when they've made a decision, not tell them to visit my website. None of that works. You have to be the expert in the moment and you have to close in the conversation.
Wow, I think that's a huge, huge one because it's so easy to say, oh, this is what I charge. Look on my website and book with me. I mean, like that's it, right? And maybe they will, maybe they won't.
They probably won't.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe I'm putting on a spot a little bit. What would be in place of, hey, check out my website? What would be a thing that a person could know right now that they could do just a tiny bit differently?
So one of the things you would do differently is you make the recommendation. So based on everything that you have said here, my recommendation would be for us to schedule a strategy session, for instance, depending on what your client does. So my recommendation would be to do a strategy session. And to do a strategy session with me, it's $400. Now, is that something you'd be interested in? Now you wait, you zip it, like not allowed to speak till the client says yes or no. And then when they say, I am interested in doing a strategy session, you say, great, let's go ahead and get it on our calendar now. Let's go ahead and book it. Then you pick the date and you say, how would you like to pay for that? I accept credit card, cash, check, whatever the way and then you wait again. And then you let them pay you. And now not only is it on the calendar, it's been paid for. They have now made a commitment to themselves to get what they want or need. And thank goodness that you were there to help them.
It's amazing and brilliant. And so I hate the word smooth, but it just is such a beautiful unfolding the way that that comes out. But I have to back you up just a little, because there's that zip it portion. Now, you shared something with me about what possibly could be happening with your client in that quiet moment, that if you jump in there, you interrupt. What is it? Do you remember?
Yeah. So when you have issued the invitation to the next step, you have to zip it, because your client is processing, right? In their brain, they could be doing a couple things. One, they could be figuring out, do I have my credit card with me? Should I go ahead and book this? Or do I need to talk to anybody else to get them involved in the decision making? Or maybe they're just trying to figure out, can I work that into my calendar, and how quickly? So we have to give them time to process, like for them to have that internal dialogue that's going on in their head. And not surprisingly, sometimes they're just reaching for their wallet.
Amazing. Amazing. And just that little tiny, tiny, tiny piece. It's not tiny, it's huge, but it's this piece of selling that if you don't know that, you could be missing out on so many potential clients and relationships in the future. It's huge. So I have about 30 more things I'd love to ask you, because I think this is such a gigantic subject. And I shared with you that in my preparation for this interview, my mind was just everywhere, because I know it's such a big topic.
Yeah.
And I know that, we have people who are content creators. They're promoting their own businesses. They're setting up their own speaking engagements. They're doing all of this, and then they need to sell. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to that. And I think you have so many of the very kind, gentle, supportive answers that, I think that's a much bigger conversation. But I'll close for now with this. It really is my understanding, after many, many conversations with you, that selling is an education. It's an education and a gift that if you need to sell anything, you need to give yourself that gift of understanding how to sell in a heart-centered way that feels great to you, not uncomfortable, not painful, and great to the person that is receiving what you have to offer. Is that right?
That is right. It's just like you invested time and energy and probably resources to get your skill set to become the expert that you are. When it's your own business, one of the places that you please invest in yourself is learning the selling process, because it's so important for you to be able to get your message out into the world, for you to help the people that you put on this earth to help. The way that you're going to be able to do that in a much more effective way is to understand the selling process. So that's really why I do what I do, is because I work with these amazing entrepreneurs that are doing just passion-filled work in the world. And many of them do not understand the selling process. And so when they invest in themselves, their confidence boosts, their clients get better results, because they have really honed the process and their skill set.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is no greater gift a person could give themselves. And I love that you're saying how much time and investment people have made in their becoming who they are. And then there's this missing piece.
Yeah.
And I know this about you because you've shared this with me. Your clients are creating amazing things and an amazing living for themselves.
Yes. Yes.
Which is, that's the Holy Grail, right? That's it. So share with us how people can get this education from you. I know there's several different ways now, right?
Yeah, so I work with clients in a variety of ways. I have a self-study program for people who want to kind of go through this on their own, that you're getting tons of content. There's ways to do it there. I have a group coaching program for people who want the interaction with me and want the self-study piece too. And then I do private work, one-on-one coaching, where I can tailor and hone everything to the individual client. And then I teach workshops, and I get hired by organizations to come in and train their teams. So those are the ways people can work with me.
Imagine a whole team that sells the way that you teach it. That would be amazing. So also there's books. There's the two books that people can buy if they want to get started. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you directly?
So people can find me on my website, of course, which is yoursalesmaven, MAVEN.com. You're also welcome to email me at Nikki, Nikki, at yoursalesmaven. .com. I would love to hear from, no, not .com, Nikki at yoursalesmaven. Yeah, .com. I'm having that brain lapse there.
We'll make sure it's at the bottom of the screen for people.
Thank you. Yeah, so people reach out to me through my website. There's plenty of content there for people who want some additional information and resources. There's a lot of free content. There's ways to connect with me, to sign up to do a selling strength assessment. And you're also welcome to email me if you want to find out some additional ways to work together.
Amazing. Well, I really recommend that anybody interested in giving themselves this education contact Nikki, because as you can see, there's so much to know. And I think personally, I understand that it really could give you such peace of mind and such a platform for running your business. So Nikki, because I have a million more questions, would you come back with us again and talk to us a little bit more about business and having it be heart-centered no matter what you do?
Absolutely. It would be my honor to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And we'll talk again really soon. To all of you heart-centered entrepreneurs out there, I know so many of you, I hope this feels like salve to your soul, like it does for me. Give yourself this education, or at least think about changing your mindset around the selling process if you have something that you're really trying to use as a business in your life. So again, this is Liz Larson with Transform One Idea. I hope many ideas, but I hope at least one transformed something in your heart and mind today. We'll talk again soon. Bye.